You are what you are, Sharon.
You've seen me in your 90 and everything, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen you in your 90. I've seen you without your 90 on.
Shut up.
We couldn't wear gloves. All in time, and that was it. He usually got a response, and it was something off.
Well, today is our oyster, is that right, Sharon?
No, the world's your oyster.
The world's your oyster, but today is our oyster. We're not having oysters, but we're going somewhere that could probably do oysters, Sharon.
I've never had an oyster.
Well, you might get one today, I don't know.
I don't think I want one.
We're going to Grimsby, folks. Now, that might sound a bit fishy to you, but apparently Jim has been there when he was at school.
Yeah.
And he went on a tour there, and he said, you've got to go there, Mum and Dad. We've just checked, it's open today. We're headed down to Grimsby, you're coming with us. I wonder where we're going to go. Now, we're outside, it's time to get on this boat, which I gather this is it, Sharon?
Yeah. Ross Tiger.
What's it called?
Ross Tiger.
Oh, yeah. Looks like an original fishing boat, doesn't it? Look.
It's the only surviving middle waterside trawler. The
Is it
only
really?
surviving one.
Wow. That's seen some action then, isn't it? So have we. Right, we'll wait to go on, folks.
It was quickly bit. It was launched in 1956, the 22nd of September, and it actually finished work in 1984.
Really? That's the year we got married.
Yeah.
How about that?
There you go.
Hey, you could have had the last voyage on this back in 1984.
In your wedding dress, yeah.
In your wedding dress. Well, apparently, Sharon, look north on there. Yeah. Butler's Empire's going on there now. He just asked if we minded being filmed on there or whatever.
Should have done my hair and put
Hey,
makeup.
you look all right, baby. Look.
Oh, I'm always on telly, aren't I? What am I like?
Yeah, we take you as you are.
Yeah. And you all know that.
Yeah. You are what you are,
Sharon.
Sharon.
You've seen me in your 90 and everything, haven't you?
Yeah, I've seen you in your 90. I've seen you without your 90 on.
Shut up.
I get your tickets, please. Thank you very much.
Tickets, please, Shell. There we go. Look north for filming just behind me, so they're going to be following them around as well. This chap was actually on this ship, served on this ship for many, many years. Is that right? He was on the ship?
I did 3 trips on this boat when I was 16 years old.
16,
Really?
Back in 1967.
Wow, marvellous, fantastic.
So if you just take a left, there's a bit of a step there, so
Yep.
just be careful.
Mind the step. Mind the step, baby.
Cheers. He's very good for his age, isn't he?
Yeah.
Excellent.
1964, did he say he was on this?
No, he was 16 when he was on it.
Yeah, but it was in 1964.
Well, he said he's older
Yeah.
than the ship, and the ship's
Yeah.
70.
Especially if it was in the cut end, so we would bend the needle on like that. This is a mending needle, and we would just make diamonds. So we'd go like that, make a diamond, and then another diamond like that. We couldn't wear gloves, you know what I mean? We just couldn't do it. So you can imagine even at Shetland it get cold, but being at Iceland, you can imagine being at Iceland, freezing, absolutely cold. Now the only way we would get our hands warm, we would have a buff. And a buff, we'd stand like that and we'd go like that. Give it a good old buff like that. So that's what we do, and that would get all the blood down to the fingers again.
Oh, here we go. Mind the step, Shell. Big step there, look.
Practically a wall.
Painted a minute.
Yeah.
Now when she was a trawler, we didn't have this handrail, we didn't have stairs like that. We had an hatch, it was half the size of this, and it was so far off the deck. And to get down was a vertical ladder, which is still there. It's just behind that ladder, and it was just a vertical ladder like that. All the access to up and down the boats was vertical. So to get down the forewall. Now, once we do go down there, you'll see the doorway into the fish room, into the engine room and the accommodation. Them doors wasn't there when she was a working trawler for obvious reasons. If we had a collision, we needed watertight compartments. It was called a crocodile spanner. Quite heavy, it would get things nice and tight, and if anything was stubborn, we'd give it a good crack with this as well. Also, if it was at Iceland, there was ice, because we used to get iced up. We had to get the ice off the top of the ship because it was extra weight, and that would, if you didn't, the ship would just turn over, capsize. So we used to use things like this to knock the ice off.
Must be hard, Matt, when we're rocking about all the time as well.
Well, see,
That was a ladder, wasn't it?
That
Yeah.
was a vertical ladder you were
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, that was.
Oh, there it is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still got it over there,
And
yeah.
it was the same in the fish room.
Wow.
And even the accommodation, but in the accommodation it was a nice wooden one with a nice brass handle, but
Yeah.
everything was vertical. Now the trawl was made up of different components, so you had top wings, lower wings, on the top we had a square, underneath we had the old belly and that. So we would carry spare bits of net like that. So if the net, if it was just if it was the top wing that was really damaged, we could just put a new top wing in. So the cod line. So this is the cod line. I have actually done it. My father was a third hand. We sailed together and we had net damage, and the skipper told him to sort the net out, and he told me to sort that out. I was only about 19 then, so, and all them cod ends, you know, cod, I actually undid it and pulled it clear, and he said, well, come on, tie him up. So it was a bit...
Would they be wet as well?
Pardon?
Would they be wet as well, the ropes?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if it was freezing, they would actually freeze.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you'd have to get a bucket of hot water, just because it would just be like a bar of iron. Especially if you was doing a bit of mending, you left it half an hour. So yeah, it would freeze up. And also, some of them, you know, you take your gloves off to tie that as well. So
Amazing.
cold. Right, cod liver oil. We said about our cod liver oil, which we've all had today, haven't we? So we've all had that today. On this ship, we had a tank down there where we would keep the cod livers. We had a barge used to come when we got in the dock, and he would suck them out, take them to a factory on the North Wall, and it would be processed into cod liver oil. On the bigger trawlers, we had a liver house with boilers, about 3 boilers, maybe took 10 or a dozen baskets of livers. I take it you see the propeller on the quayside, so we're not going nowhere.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the rudder. So this was the fish room, obviously the biggest part of the ship. Most all of it was built around the fish room because this is where we carry the fish. Now, when these ships stopped fishing in the 1980s, they went as oil rig standby boats. And what they used to do, they used to go to sea alongside of an oil rig or a gas rig for 4 weeks and just stay there. In case there was an emergency on the rig, they could evacuate the men off the rig, put them on board the ship and get them to a place of safety. So what they did with the fish room, they made it a nice big open space all the way along, with loads of chairs and all that, and so they could somewhere, because they might have 60 or 100 men on the rig, okay? Now, once you come back to be a museum ship, we put that back as it would have been as a fish room. So if you can imagine that half, all the way along to front, okay? And the fish room basically was, you had all these stanchions and you'd have wooden boards to make fish pounds, and that is where you would pack the fish in ice. Now all the cod would go in 1 pound haddock, one thing species, were all kept separate. We did target cod mainly, so the bulk of the fish on board would be cod. Hopefully nice big cod, but sometimes it was codling, what we call codling. So we would go with ice fish, ice fish, ice fish, and when we got so far up, we would put a shelf. So we would put steel battens on, wooden boards and ice fish, and that would keep the weight off the fish. If you imagine that full of fish, the fish at the bottom would all be squashed, and then that won't be good. I'm going to get paid for that. So every, what we call 2 battens, we would put a shelf, and that would keep the fish in good condition. Now the mate, it was his job, the fish room, so if there was any issues with the fish, it was the mate who got it in the neck. He might even get the sack. And if it went on for a while, he would get a bad name for bad fish, so nobody wanted to employ him. And it was the other way, if he had a good name for turning out good fish, all the skippers wanted him anyway.
But most of it's imported now then?
Yes.
Wow.
And my last 10 years of fishing was in Cornwall.
So who's fishing these areas now then?
Well, Dutch.
Really?
Maybe the Danes. Well, I honestly couldn't tell you who's fishing them.
Yeah, but it's not us.
It's not definitely not us. Well, now we're going to go in the engine room.
Wow, where it all happens. Oh, look at this.
So this first engine, this was just for the winch, because the winch was electric driven, so this was just for the
That's the big winch on the surface, what we see, the green, big green winch up there.
Yeah, the muscle. That's the muscle.
Wow. You never get to go down these sort of places, folks.
So where we've got the art of the tiger, the roar, the tiger's roar, is the main engine. Okay, now say Dick, he was engineer on these ships as well. So these was 700 horsepower. So 7-cylinder, 700 horsepower, these engines. Built in Lincoln. Ruston was the makers, and the factory's still there, still make engines, but not for fishing boats. Now, more for tugs, because of a good old workhorse. Now these was quite unique as well, that there was all bridge control. So once we go up in a bridge, you'll see the telegraph, but it was all connected. So the skipper could also, he had fingertip control. On the bigger trawlers, it was a telegraph where you had an engineer who would answer the telegraph and he would work the controls. These was all 70 years ago. It was quite cutting edge technology, Now this here, this is the generator for the power. Now the power on these ships was 110 volts DC. So you couldn't fetch anything from home and plug it in, hope it would work. So these was 110 volt DC. We've got another one the other side, could work too, one against the other. Also if you had an issue with it. We had auxiliary machinery, we had compressors, we had pumps and one thing and another.
You can see the shaft there going out, that will go straight out to the propeller, I think.
Yes, well you've got the gearbox here and the shaft going straight through the propeller.
Wow.
So, it'd have to be a long shaft to beat the propeller now because it's on the key. It'd have to be bendy. Now it's a bit tacky these, but they are dry.
Yeah, it's all being painted, Up you go, baby.
Well, now we're going to go into the accommodation. So the skipper had his own cabin, the mate, chief engineer, second engineer. The first cabin you see here is the mate's. So this was the mate's cabin, you can have a look in there.
Sticking that in there. That was the mate's cabin. There's not a lot there at all, is there?
No.
Not a lot of space there at all, is there?
And to get down here, we had a vertical ladder here, from up there, because these doorways wasn't there, and this is how we would get down into the accommodation. Only way in, only way out.
To watch your step then?
Oh, definitely.
Wow.
And it was a nice wooden with the brass handles, wasn't it? Not like you see, not like the old thing. So, and then this cabin here, that was the cook, and he would share probably with the third hand or the bosun.
Cook's cabin, look at that. Two of them in there.
Yeah, the cook and the bosun, the third hand. 4 deckhands in here. We'd have 4 deckies. That was my bunk when I was on here.
You've actually slept in that?
I was there, for 3 trips. That was
Wow, look at that. Amazing, isn't it?
So if you come in, so basically, when we did get off the deck and we did get some rest time, we basically just come in, sit down, kick our boats off, take our jumper off, in.
Yeah.
Because you could be in for a couple of hours, you could be in for an hour, depending. And once you got out, you could be out for quite a few hours. Okay. We had a wardrobe or a locker to put our shore gear, and we also had a drawer piece to put any personal things. That perspex wasn't there, it was a solid bulkhead, and that's the steering gear.
Oh, right, okay.
So you'd have the shaft coming through underneath and the propeller, and then you'd have the steering gear. So we had some noises, but it was like we call white noise. The only time it woke us up is if it changed.
Yeah.
If we come past, the engine would labour, and then we wake up and we knew. If we was all nicely sleeping and real deep sleep, all in time, the watch would come in and he'd go, all in time, and that was it. He usually got a response, and it was something off.
Yeah.
And that was the response you used to
Wow.
get. But you used to get up, find your boots and that, get your back home, have a pack and get a pot of tea.
There isn't a lot of space for your cuddly toys.
So this was the second engineer's cabin, which would access there. These doorways wasn't there. And like I said, there was only one way in and one way out, so we needed an emergency escape, and that was up there. So that was the emergency escape.
Wow.
And above there we would have, is it a rope ladder? Just
Oh,
tied up.
right, yeah.
So if we need to get out there, we just cut this bit of only thin twine, and that was a rope. It's not a big opening.
No, it's only a little
it's
porthole
not.
up there, isn't it?
And people say, what if there was a large guy trying to get out?
Yeah.
The guy behind him made sure he gets out.
Oh, right, yeah.
Plus, if your life depends on it, you are going to get out. Okay.
It's got
As
off,
far as
hasn't
I know, there was never used in anger, as far as I'm aware. And so this door wasn't there. So there's the chief's cabin. So this will probably bring some happy memories for Dick. So this is the chief engineer's cabin. So he's got his shore gear ready, and So I don't know, if you're not Grimsby people, you won't know. We used to have our own brewery years ago.
Oh, yes.
Hewitt's Brothers, yeah?
I remember it.
You
I used to
remember
walk-
it?
I used
Pasture
to walk
Street.
past it on the way to school.
Well, on Pasture Street and all, you could smell it, couldn't you? You know, so I remember that. A lot of the pubs, even though like the Humber pub's not a pub no more, but you will see the Hewitt's on the facade. I think it was took over by Glass Chowitons, wasn't it? Yeah. So obviously,
Somebody once wrote Uptown that Hewitt's only made one bad beer and they sold it in every pub in Grimsby.
well, it didn't stop it being drunk, did it? Especially, I think the fishermen kept Hewitt's going anyway.
Want to step back in the engine room again, shall?
Tacky.
Wow, look at all this, look. Amazing, isn't it?
It is, isn't it?
Okay, so you can imagine it got quite noisy in here. Now I am going to simulate the noise, so if you know, not for long, but I will simulate the noise. Okay.
How could you sleep with that?
Is that about right, Dick?
Quite noisy, isn't it?
All engineers are deaf.
That was my next thing, right? Obviously they didn't wear air defenders, and a lot of engineers went there,
Wow.
especially in the pub when it was there around. But it was all right to say, right, do you want a drink? Yeah. That's a bit of a standing joke anyway.
Wow.
Okay, so it won't be a
Well, up we go. Go on, baby. You're like Captain Pugwash show.
Shut up.
Hey? Oh, the bars are sticky. Mind the bars are sticky, Shed. The paint's still wet.
They actually painted it when they did all the restoration.
Oh, right.
And they said, oh, they're a bit tacky. So last week we hooked them all down again,
Yeah.
and they painted them again, and they're still tacky.
Oh, right.
You're not saying nothing this time.
Yeah,
We only
quite
did it
tacky.
yesterday.
Oh.
But in the fish room, it's dry.
Yeah. So loud, wasn't it?
We've got the galley,
Really loud, that noise.
the
On the
poor old
steps.
cook.
God.
There'll be
What's
stuff on
this?
his head sometimes.
I bet
The
you know.
most,
Wow, look at this,
what
folks.
can I say?
Wow.
It wasn't the best job on board
No,
the ship.
Christ.
Very
There
old,
was
isn't it?
always somebody who would moan.
That looks familiar.
It doesn't matter how good it was, you
Yeah.
always got
Amazing, isn't
somebody who would moan.
Quite bright
Same
here,
old
though.
thing. You can
Looking out
blame
there at the
somebody
sea,
for
look.
somebody.
Oh, yeah.
He had to make his own bread and all daily.
Right.
Made his own bread. Once we got on the fishing grounds, it was fish for breakfast. But we'd have cornflakes, but don't forget we didn't have fresh milk, so it'd be tin milk watered down. But then it might do a bit of polish. Here's the mess room. We can go in there, the mess room. This seated 8 people, so obviously we'd have
Wow.
2 sit-ins.
Wow,
So
look at
we've got a table set
look
up
at
for
this.
a meal.
Wow.
That would be at the end of the day. We would have it set up for decoration. Get
Look
yourself
at
sat down.
that. There's them tables in there, look.
Yeah.
There's your games, look. Your recreation area.
That there was how we used to get down to the accommodation.
And that's where they pass the food through, no doubt. Look through the old serving
Just
act.
to both take a seat in there then.
Not much room here, is it? Very cramped.
Yeah.
Come out of there.
There was a speaker on there which was connected to a radio on the bridge, so again the skipper was in charge of what you listened to.
Oh, right.
Sunday, on a Sunday you could nip up and ask him to put up with a pop toilet. So can I hear? Say yeah, but usually it was weather forecast, the Archers and Mrs Dale's diving, so depending, okay?
Yeah.
Oh good, so bathroom, we went to the bathroom.
Oh, here we go.
There we go, so in here, so
Big steps everywhere.
no, because of the water you see.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Swishing backwards and
Yeah.
forwards.
So here's the bathroom, one toilet,
Wow.
toilet paper, you just read it and then you used it. Or it was
There we
a
go.
real ISO. Don't you anybody remember
Oh, the old,
Yeah, yeah.
tracing paper.
Yes, yes.
Remember that?
So we had a bath, a shower, wash thing. And then this is the drying room. This is where we put our gear when we come off the deck.
Oh, I
Hoping
see.
it would be dry.
No space at all, really, is there?
No, no.
And how many people would be on this boat?
Anywhere from 12 to 14.
Wow.
Not enough beds.
And that's the only toilet on there?
Yeah, well, apart from the skipper.
Oh, there's more beds.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Say, most trawlers was built around the fish room.
Wow.
Because that is what's going to hold the fish,
Yeah.
which is going to earn the money. So we've got more accommodation here.
Oh, these are the quieter ones, aren't they?
Well, yeah. I don't know if you've ever been on a ship head to wind. When the ship's head to wind and it dips its head,
Oh.
this bit does that.
Oh, this is the back end there.
This is this is
Stern?
the
So this would be the worst, wouldn't it?
Yeah, stern.
Yeah.
And it was what unusual. Be laid in your bunk and you would actually lift you up and you would.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Deckhead. It
Amazing.
was that tight, you didn't care.
Amazing.
Well, no.
Yeah. So this doorway wasn't there, so the only way in and out was there.
One way again.
And
Yeah.
this little thing was a veggie locker or the spud locker, so that could get a bit whiffy. And there was your
Oh, the old to climb
emergency.
out, yeah.
Oh, that was your way out
That's your emergency exit.
from the engine room
Christ.
downstairs.
Well, from that cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
from
Oh,
the-
yeah. That was your way out, folks. Look. Look at that. Look, now you should have a rope ladder throw down there. Look, unbelievable. What an amazing thing, isn't it?
It's a hard life.
You can't
isn't it?
imagine. I know it's
Hard
still
life.
while we're on it, but you can't imagine how rough at sea,
I don't want to imagine.
isn't it?
So we didn't have steps like this again. We'd have a vertical ladder welded
Yeah,
onto
these
the
are all
casing.
new additions, folks. So it'll be straight up in the air.
So this is the boat deck for obvious reasons. Some call it a lifeboat, some call it a workboat. These was the best things they get, the inflatable life rafts. These saves a lot more people than they ever would.
Right.
If you were trying to launch that, even if the ship was laid over, it does take charge. It probably hit people. So you would.
Would they have had them when you was on the boat?
Yes.
Oh, they would have.
Yeah, we had them.
What are they? A canister? No, I mean not just. It wasn't them ones you had.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we still had them. In the end, they did go to the Z boats because there was more weight boats than lifeboats.
yeah.
But these inflatable. If they'd had these on the Titanic, everybody would have got.
There you go.
Yeah. Inside, they were self-inflated, and you get anywhere from 10, 15, 20, 30, even 40 men on
Amazing.
some of the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Inside, you had rations to keep you going. You'd have tins of fresh water, biscuits, and things like that. And you'd have like a mirror for signalling. I mean, nowadays we take what we call an e-pair with this electronic thing, which would give a signal to a satellite, which then go to a coast station.
Now we're going into the nerve centre. This is where it all happened.
There's the bridge. So this is the nerve centre.
Wow.
So you've got your telegraph there, so say that was all connected to the bridge, so the skipper, everything is fingertips. Come in everybody.
Let's go around that side of it. Wow.
So we've got the ship's wheel. Now all these ships was hand steering. The bigger trawlers had automatic steering, but all these was hand steering. So meaning to and from the fishing grounds, so 36 hours there, 36 hours back, we would have watches. So the mate and two deckies, one watch, the bosun and two deckies, and a senior deckie with two deckies would comprise of the watch. Skipper didn't take a watch when he was steaming. And he just did all the fishing, him and the mate. Now, the guy in charge of the watch didn't have to do a spell on the wheel because he would keep a safe lookout or a safe navigation. So you'd be here, so I've actually done it. I stood here, compass there, course there, and you would do an hour on the wheel.
Wow.
Now, yeah, it'd be nice today, but if she's doing all of that, you're probably chasing the course as well. You've got your rudder indicator there, so you know, so you didn't want to give her too much wheel sometimes. Sometimes you had to, but 5 or 10 degrees to get her back on a course, okay? So once you've done your hour, your watchmate would say okay. If he didn't, you would remind him it was his turn to go on the wheel. And then the guy who does come off the wheel would take obviously that pot. Now, the tea we got on board from the company wasn't nice tea. We used to say they swept it up. So we used to take our own tea, sugar and milk with us. Tin milk, obviously. And then we say, all right then, nip down and make a pot of spesh, or a pot of mothers. So we'd go down, make a lovely pot of nice tea. Especially if you were steaming out and you had a nice trip on board, you'd have a nice pot of tea, have a fag, have a bit of music, all talking about what you're going to do when you get home. I'm not going to have a drink this trip. That never happened. So, well, that was that, yeah? All good, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so this was a Decker Navigator, which is just like an old-fashioned GPS. They worked from a coast station on the shore up to Scotland, Denmark, Germany. Once you got north of the Shetlands, you couldn't pick them up anyway. Okay, but say these ships didn't go that far. These was all radio telephony, so you get hold of radio or whatever, and if you wanted a link or phone home, you'd go in a queue. We've got the ship's bell. There's no clonk in it. They've took it out because we get a lot of skulls on board. So and we've got obviously the chart for steaming to and from the grounds. Okay, so you've seen how the crew lived. What do you reckon? A bit basic.
Very.
So you want to say how the skipper lived then? Here's the skipper's cabin.
The skipper's cabin.
So come in and sit down. So, this is a bit better, isn't it?
It's a lot better.
Oh yes. Oh, it's warm in here as well.
Now we've got the heater on.
Oh, look, it's got red
As
curtains.
he would have.
Yeah.
So, flush, yeah.
Yeah. Very nice. A lot more space as well in here.
Yeah, yeah. So there's his bed. There. But he also had another special thing, if you excuse me.
Got his own toilet in there.
No.
No?
You better. But he had the bong back.
God.
So that was the bong.
Yeah, look at that.
So the skipper would buy this in Grimsby. He'd buy it and he would sell it to the crew.
Wow.
But it was all bond prices.
Yeah.
Some made a profit, some paid for their own, the odd one did go a bit crazy. And beer, there's actually beer in them, but I want that to drink it.
Oh yeah.
You've seen that toilet, haven't you? Imagine us all queuing for that though. I'll be down in the skippers, don't worry about it. But that's about 40 or 50-year-old that
Wow.
beer, so it's not bad. The bottles are empty, by the way. I can assure you on that. Okay, cigarettes. So we get our cigarettes, players or Park Drive, Woodbine, and tobacco. We get tobacco. This was a favourite old friend. Okay, it was as rough as hell. It was. It was like big lumps of wood in it. But the old timers loved it. You know what I mean? They say to you, "Hey, got your tobacco on your son? Yeah, give it a roll." And he'd roll a fag as thick as your thumb.
Wow.
You didn't get caught twice.
Wow.
Obviously, we had sweets. So we had the old quality street. That's a proper quality
That's a
street.
proper
Yeah,
one. Look
proper
at how big
yeah.
the tins were back then.
Empty, by the way, but that was a proper one. Okay. And also, we had the smaller one. I can remember my dad fetching them home.
I've never seen the smaller ones.
You never seen them, yeah?
No, not
The
smaller
old-fashioned design. Okay, so we had all them. Also, Mars bars. My dad had Mars bars, proper Mars bar.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It used to take you 20 minutes to eat it. It was a lovely thick chocolate, not like you get nowadays. So that was it. He'd come in, Doc, put his kit back down, straight in. You know what I mean?
Well, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Very, very
And
interesting.
look, that's the original ship's bell there. Look, there's no clanger on it no more. I've taken the clanger off. Ross Tiger, 1957, Grimsby.
Lovely
Amazing.
tour,
I tell you what,
amazing.
we didn't know this was here, did we?
Big round of applause to all fishermen,
Yep.
I'll tell you.
And Jimmy for telling us about this
Yeah.
place. Well, hope you've enjoyed that, folks. What a fantastic thing. Get yourself down there. We'll leave all the details to it down below. And you got to check this out. We never knew this was here.
Yeah, the museum is just as
And
good as a tour.
£8 plus a little bit for the tour, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'll have to go and check that because we've got in cheaper.
Yeah, because we're pensioners, Sharon. Shh.
It's taken for granted that the fish turns up, but what they go through and the conditions that they live and sleep in is amazing, really, what they've done for us to keep us with fish.
I mean, Grimsby's going for town of culture, along with a load of other towns around, you know, the country and this part of the world. I mean, is this a selling point for you?
It was for me because I never knew about this place, and it's absolutely fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Come here to come and see this and have a fantastic tour like we just have. Thank you.
Oh, well, that was quite funny, folks. Look, North wanted to interview us as well,
I
which they've
didn't
just
like
done.
it.
She went all bleeding funny. She done all right. I did film a bit of it anyway.
I like my camera, not that big thing.
That's Look North tonight, by the way, folks. I'll try and put a link to it if I can, but I don't know how that works with the BBC. But anyway, what a fantastic tour.
Yeah.
You've got to get yourselves down there. All the details will be left down
It's
below.
worth every single penny. Even the museum is brilliant.
We haven't had the chance to look around it properly because we've been filming,
And I've
obviously.
got to go and have fish and chips now.
Oh, here we go. And we will be coming back to you in another video. Do keep an eye out and don't forget, hit that subscribe button if you like what you see on our channel. And have a little backlog of our videos as well. Have a little look at them as well. Right, we're going to go now. Hope you've enjoyed that one. We'll see you in the next video. And until then,
Where are we?
bye for now. I don't know, in the car park, Sharon. Where's your car gone? We've ended up at a bleeding
I think
supermarket.
it's over that way.